Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Jamie Photography. In this video, I'm going to do a standard post-process, taking a shot here that was photographed quite late in the evening. So we're not going to be doing a day to night because it is already night time. But what we want to try to do is balance the image out and make it work. So what I'm going to try to do here is take this picture, which was taken handheld. As you can see, it's 20th of a second f5, ISO 1600. So there wasn't a great deal of light, but I didn't have my tripod with me at this point, so I thought I'd snap the shot. But also, when you're taking a picture at night with people in the shot, you don't really want a very long exposure, because the people, particularly the ones that are moving, as you can see in the middle here, would become blurred quite quickly. So the idea is that we'll try to capture a freeze frame of the moment and go from there. So this image was taken in Montmartre in Paris, a beautiful place with the restaurants around the market square. And so what I'm going to try to do here is bring this image alive a little bit. So one of the things I always start with is my crop and perspective. So I think the perspective actually is pretty good here. I don't think I need to change the perspective. I'm quite happy with that. But I will go into the crop tool, and I'm just going to bring this up at the bottom here, just so this leading line that we've got on the edge of the road over here actually goes into the corner. There works quite well. There's a lot of detail over here that perhaps I don't want to see. So I'm just going to pull this over onto the tree. So that works quite well. So let's just check the perspective of the dimensions of the image. Is it a 10 by 16? That's a little bit tight. Maybe is it a 10 by 9? That'll be tighter. Maybe I can see if it's a 4 by 3. Let me just pop that back up in the corner there, and then we'll bring this down. So 4 by 3 would give me that shot there. So yeah, it's not too bad. I do really want that leading line coming into the corner, so I'm just going to run with my own crop. Let's try the 1610 just to be sure, and I can just extend that up just a little bit there. Yeah, I think that works, so I'm going to accept that. So that's good. Happy with that. So next thing I'm going to do is going to go into the basic module, and I'm going to tackle the highlights. You can see the highlights are a little bit blown over here. The lights, the floodlights at the front of the building there, the restaurant, have illuminated it almost to the point that it's burnt out. So we don't have, actually hovering over there, we are white on the triangle in the histogram. So you can see we have exceeded the limits there. So it's a difficult one, but let's bring down the highlights to say -50 there, just to see where that sits. And we've come away, nothing is cropping anymore, which is good. If you go all the way down with the highlights, when you've got this type of lighting, you find out that you lose the natural effect of the lighting. It goes too far. Now there is a tip: you can build that back using the day to night technique, but I don't think in this situation we need to go that far. I'm going to bring that down probably to about -65. There we go. So that's no longer blown out, and that's actually quite workable. Might even go just a little bit further, maybe to 70. Yep. And then we also want to open up the shadows. So I'm going to pull the shadow slider right the way over. Look at that. Amazing what these modern camera sensors can do. It's absolutely incredible how you can pull the shadows like that. And if I just zoom in on a light area just to see how much noise we've got, you know, the noise levels are not too bad. There is a little bit there, and we can correct for that in a little while. So I'm quite happy with that. So let's just add a little bit of vibrance, because these colors, I mean, as you see, all I've done is move the highlights and the shadows. They're beautiful colors here. So we could make it just a little bit warmer, just a little bit. That works okay. That just boosts the colors ever so slightly. Let me just see where we're at, just ever so tiny. And I'm also going to bring the vibrance up just a little bit, make it pop a little bit more. Now, one of the things we do need to do is there's a little bit of tidying up to do. I certainly need to have a look at some of the rubbish and paper that's around on the ground, and I also want to take out that TV aerial that's in the center there, so we'll do that shortly. But just before we do, I'm going to add a little bit of more light to this scene, particularly this cafe on the left, the red cafe. So I'm going to go into mask, I'm going to go to radial gradients, and I'm going to pull a radial gradient around each of the lamps here, just bring it down so it's on the lamp and it's going left to right, and I'm just going to boost the exposure just a little bit on there, and a little bit of clarity just to make it pop. Now I don't want this upper area to be illuminated, so I'm going to subtract a brush. I'm going to go with a very small feather, about 10%, and I'm going to make the flow 100 and the density 100. And then I'm just going to take a reasonable size brush here, and on the edge of that awning there, I'm just going to click once and then hold down the shift key and click again to get a straight line to remove it, and then just remove anything that's at the top. So if I now hover over the mask, you'll see that it's just the light itself that's been done. So I'm going to right click, duplicate this mask, I'm going to grab that light and move it down to the other one here, make it a little bit narrower. There we go. And I'm going to subtract the brush again and just continue that line on from the edge of the awning out of the shot. There we go. That works very well. So one more, right click on this one, duplicate the mask, and then move it onto this lamp over here. That works very well. And then I'm quite happy. I think we'll take a little bit out from the top as well. So we will go into this one here, subtract the brush, and then I'm going to bring up the feather this time to more like 80 and just drop it down the flow, because I want to just blend that away at the top, just so it's not standing out too much. That works very well. Now also, I'd like to put a little bit more light in the front here, so I'm going to create a new mask again, another radial gradient. I'm just going to make a bit longer and a bit thinner, and I'm just going to bring that in line with the curb and just bring up the exposure a little bit on that one as well, not too much, and just add in a little bit of saturation there, so you can see we've lit the road up a little bit more. Now this street light over here, this isn't really bright enough because we brought down the highlights. We do need to have a look at this. So what I want to do is I'm just going to zoom in on this over here, move this over, and you can see we just need to do something with that. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take another mask, another radial gradient, and I'm going to make a little thin one and pop it in the center as though it's the light bulb there, and then just boost that up so you get this sort of brighter area in the middle. It's a little bit larger, just make it a little bit smaller and put it in the center. There we go. So you can work with these areas when they're a little bit darker, and that tends to work quite well. The other thing you could do is you can make this larger than the light itself, make it bigger, bring it down just a little bit. There we go. So that makes it look like it's just fully illuminated, so you don't have the lamp in the middle. That's another way of doing it. You can just brighten it a little bit, and then you can always right click, duplicate the radial, stick it back in the center, and put a small one like we just did back in the center, so that the contrast between the bright is not so great. So if I accept that, you can see that you've still got a bright patch in the middle, and that works quite well. So I'm going to drop back, happy with that. Plenty of light over here coming from there. You can see that's nice and bright there. In fact, that might even be just a little bit too bright. So what we can do is go into the mask, create a mask, take a brush, go with quite high feather and quite high flow, and take a smallish brush. So you can change the size of the brush by wheeling your mouse or by using the square brackets to the left of the return key. And I'm just going to overpaint that just a little bit like this. You can see, and then I can just bring down the exposure a little bit, maybe drop the highlights a little bit, not too much, just a little bit, just to take some of that brightness away. That works well. Now I'd like to make the pool of light below the light bigger as well. So again, creating a new mask, radial gradient. I'm going to pop that in underneath this lamp. Just trying to see exactly where it is. It's back there, so we might even turn this slightly just to get the light coming away, and we'll boost that light there. There we go. That works very well. Not particularly happy with that. Just a little tip there, if you want to reset your sliders all in one go, you can double click on the word. So for example, if I've selected low there, I can double click exposure and put it back to 0. But if there's more than one and you want to reset them all to 0, you can just double click effect. So for example, if I change some of these sliders, and rather than clicking on each one to reset them, I can double click on effect, and that will reset all of them back. So just gonna just ever so slightly drop that one, not too much. So that's looking pretty good. I think a little bit more light in the tree up here would also work quite well. So create another mask, radial gradient. Just going to take a little bit bigger one here, just rotate that round. There we go. And I'm just going to brighten that up as well, just to add a little bit more to that, and maybe we can add a little bit of magenta there, and also pop in a bit of clarity. It makes it pop a little bit up there. That looks really nice. Okay, so let's accept the masks. I'm going to pop over into Photoshop just to do some removals, just to tidy this shot up a little bit. So edit in Adobe Photoshop. So I did that by right clicking on the photograph in Lightroom and then selecting Adobe Photoshop 2023. So here we are in Photoshop. So I'm just going to zoom in. We'll start along the bottom here. Holding down the space bar, I can move the slider over like that. And then we're going to use the spot heal tool brush there. It's you can click J, or you can pick the little band-aid that's got the little ring on the edge of it. And then with a small brush, I can go and take out the cigarette butts that you always find in all the cities, wherever you go, just to clear them up. So don't draw your attention away from the beautiful scene. So a couple of some chewing gum there as well, just clearing those up. And then there's some garbage here as a bottle here, so I'll make my brush a little bit bigger. Now what you'll notice, to get rid of it, I will draw half on the bottle and half off the bottle, including the shadow, and then I will keeping my finger pressed down on the mouse, I will take it out. There we go, that worked quite well. A little bit of paper there, another little mark there, and then there's a piece of paper here, same thing, half over the edge of the paper, half away, and then just work your way around and color it all in with the brush there. And amazing, absolutely. I've been using Photoshop for many years, 7 or 8 years now, and it still completely surprises me. And you know, really impressed with the quality of the spot healing tool. It is very, very good. It doesn't seem to miss anything. So the street lamp, as you can see, is back here. So you see this sign here. I'm wondering, should we try to take that sign out? It will be quite difficult because we've got the legs of the person covered and the back of the person covered. But what we can do is we can try and just do the bit where the people are, and just see how it copes. And it didn't do too bad with the lady over there, but this chap's now got no legs. So I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave that in for now. So this sign as is. So moving up, I saw the CCTV camera here. So just going to, again, same thing, just paint around. And whoosh, that's gone. The TV aerial up here, just take that out as well. Just there we go, perfect. Got rid of that. Now I did see a strange reflection over here. Just want to take that out as well. There we go. That was a little bit distracting. So I think we have all the things out the shot that we don't want to see. Just a little mark on the tree there. Just get rid of that. Yeah. Yeah, I think we've got everything that we want taken out of that shot. So I'm going to send it back into Lightroom. So to do that, I'm going to I'm just thinking actually whilst we're here, yeah, I'm wondering, that blue sky is very, very blue, whether we could do maybe a sky replacement and change that. Should we have a go whilst we're here? No harm. So let's do edit, sky replacement. I don't think we'll put a Milky Way in there. It will try and pop it in, but we will find a nice warm coloured sky. That might work. Let's try that. And then we'll click over here. So we've got the tools up and running now. I'm just going to move that where I can see it. We do need to make sure we've got all of the areas covered. So I'm just going to see if fade edges will help that in any way. Just go from one extreme to another. Shift edge as well. There we go. Oh, there we go. We've definitely got those edges now. So it's don't want to go too bright. Just going to darken the sky down a little bit. So we're just going to reduce the brightness for the sky up there, and I'm going to boost the temperature. That seems to be working quite well. We can change the scale as well if we want to. We can make it come further away or closer in. We can pop that in there. Too far. There we go. Come down a bit more. That's okay. Color adjustment on the main image. I'm just going to zoom out just a little bit, and then we can see where we are. Actually, I'm just going to go over those edges there. There's a few little bits and pieces. Just check the edge lighting, foreground lighting, not too much of that, and then yeah, I'm just trying to find the balance, and it's what you do with these. There's no real mechanism for how these sliders really affect. Each image is very, very different, and depending on how much you click them, how far you go, depends on the amount, the effect. But each image is very, very different. I mean, I've just backed that off there, that shift edge, and you can see with hardly anything it stays blue, and as I bring it in, it starts to add color. If I go too far, it overlays in front of the buildings and it starts to look unnatural. So it's trying to find a balance with that blue sky and the clouds that we've got. So I actually think that's not too bad. I'm just going to use the refine brush here, take quite a large brush, and then I'm just going to pop over these areas in the sky just to change the color to match with the sky. There we go, that works quite well. So you just got a bit of colour in there. So I'm going to accept that on a duplicate layer and zoom out. So we've got a little bit of sky in there. And then we're just going to go back into Lightroom. So we'll do that by going to File, Close. And I say this every time, do File, Close, Save, and then it will automatically be put back into Lightroom. If you do File, Save, or Save As, you'll have to resynchronize your Lightroom to get back to the new image. So I'm just going to finish this off now with minor details. This is actually going to be quite a quick edit. Just get rid of that side at the top. I'm probably going to put a post-crop vignette in. So let's try that. We'll go down the bottom to Effects, and we'll do a minus post. There we go, post-crop. So I'm going to go -30, and then I'm just going to open the feather up to 100. And that just gives you the darkening of the corners. There's a little bit of blue there. I'm just going to darken that corner there. So I'm going to take the masks. I'm going to take a brush, and flow and feather are high. That's fine. I'm just going to paint that a little bit in the corner there, and then just drop the exposure back so it blackens that corner up there. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Just come out of masks, go back into the basic at the top. Now, of course, everything's reset because we are now a TIFF that's come back from Photoshop. So I'm just going to maybe open the shadows just a little bit more, which I can do, which really makes this pop here. I'm going to add some clarity to the shot, not too much. It's very powerful clarity, just a little bit, and maybe a little bit of texture. There we go. And I'm not going to add any more color because the color's really popping in there already. I think that works very, very well. We just need to check this the noise. So I'm just going to zoom in on this this sort of noisy area here. You can see it. It's quite noisy there. And we're just going to go into detail, take the noise reduction slider under luminance, and we're just going to work that up until that looks better. Yeah, and that does look a little bit better there. Probably a little bit more. There we go. That's working very well. But in doing just luminance, you actually soften the entire image. If I come back out, you'll see it softened slightly. So we do need to add some sharpening. So if we add, there's something that Serge Ramonelli showed me a number of years ago, was that once you bring up your luminance, wherever you end up with a comfortable level of noise reduction, in this case 45, the sharpening should equal the luminance subtracted from 100. So therefore we should put 55 in for sharpening, so we get the balance between sharpening and luminance. And of course, less luminance, more sharpening, vice versa. But now we've put the sharpening in, the luminance, they're fighting against each other. So what we need to do is mask out the noisy parts from the edges where the sharpness is done. So what we do is we go to masking, we hold down the Option on a Mac or Alt on a Windows machine, and then we slide this slider, and what you'll find is it actually always looks wonderful. I love the black and whites, the way it does this. It's almost like a pencil sketch. As you slide it up, the further you slide it, the more black you see, and the black is what's going to be have the noise reduction applied, and the white is what's going to have the sharpening applied. So you want to find a balance where you're not too far down, so the white's still on the areas which should be fully noise reduced, and also you shouldn't be too high so that you're getting very minimal edges. So in this case, I think we're probably going to be around about 55, maybe 60. There we go. And I let go, and it will apply that. So now when I zoom back in and look here, the noise looks a lot better, much better than it was. If I show you, I can show you a before and after in a moment. But that looks a lot better. But we still managed to keep the sharpening, and that's the important point. So the final touches on this, I'm going to just make the whole image slightly brighter. There we go. So plus 0.5 stops, maybe 0.45. Yeah, that's about right. I'm not going to bring down the highlights any further because we will suffer from detail. I'm going to check the shadows we've already opened. I'm going to check my whites and my blacks, and we do that again by holding down the Option or Alt key, and then we move the slider until the whites start to appear. You don't want to go too far. As I've shown people before, looking at the histogram at the top, the whites are to the far right, and we don't want this triangle to light up. That shows it's cropping. So if I bring that down, you see it's not cropping now, and then it goes red, yellow, and then white. So yellow, white is 100%, we've exceeded. Yellow is 95 and red is 90%. So I'm going to go with 90%. So we're not too bleached through with the amount of light there. I'm going to do the same with the black. Hold down the Option or Alt key, and I'm just going to back that down until I start seeing some black. There we go. You can see the tree in the top right corner. You can see parts of the building. Same thing goes for the triangle in the histogram to the top left. Further down I go, the more it crops. If I come up, it will do the same thing color-wise. Here we go. So there we go. So we've got blue, and we got purple. So blue, purple, white. So I'm going to go with purple here. I want a little bit of black. In fact, you know what? I might even go into the white on the triangle and actually just force a little bit of black to appear. So you've got some real contrast in the image there. And that works really, really well. I'm very happy with that. Should I try a little bit more vibrance? No, it's too much. So I'm going to be quite happy sticking there with 0. And you know what? I'm not really going to do much else to that. I'm happy that the exposure's right. We've got a good level of contrast. It tells a wonderful story, this picture. You've got a good leading line. as it comes in here. You got some lovely light, and we did a little sky replacement just to make the sky look a little bit different rather than just this huge blueness that was there. So let's just see what it was like before. Now, this was a little tip I actually learned quite recently. A chap in my comments, thank you, Chris, said, why don't you just use the backslash to do before and after? I used to go over here into history, and then I'd go down to that. Every day's a school day. I've been using this software for almost 10 years in total, and yet I didn't know that there was just a key you could press to see your before and after, and that's your backslash key. On a Mac, it's just to the left of the return key. I don't know where it is on a Windows machine, but the backslash, if you press it, you go back to where you were. And of course, this goes back to the TIFF that we imported from Photoshop. So that's the before and after from the TIFF. And then if I go back to the before it went to Photoshop, so we've got the rubbish back in here. I just use the right cursor key just to go to the next one. Hold down the backslash key. There's your before, yeah, and there's your after. Just see how much more detail there is in there just by pulling that forward. So before, and then I'll move to the final image. There we go, the after. So I'm very happy with that. It's really good. So a little bit of a shorter tutorial today. I did ask people last time to let me know what they thought about the length of the videos, and some people said they were long, and some people said they enjoyed them. So I'll try to do this one as a shorter one, just to give you an idea of a sort of a standard process that I might do without getting into too much detail. So, well, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please like the video. I'd love you to subscribe and continue on this adventure that I have on YouTube with my work to show people how I do things. And yeah, until the next time, goodbye for now.